This presentation proposes an internet adaptation plan for libraries and a corresponding coalition. The technological divide is a social issue with a significant age gap. The new adaptation plan can validate and clarify the changing role of libraries in society, which can help resolve the issue. Governments, organizations, and individuals can spread awareness of the issue and solutions. During the computer boom of the 80s and 90s, those 55 and older were the least likely to buy a computer by far. This has lasting effects, and many of those people are still living. There's a strong correlation between computer ownership and unemployment. Since elderly people are often unemployed or not in the workforce, this may be related to age as well. The most recent census data has shifted the age group divisions, but you can see that the gap between the elderly and all other groups is still significant. Frugality affected elderly adoption of PCs during the internet boom, and age correlates strongly with homelessness, and lack of ability leads to lack of PC ownership. Just because the elderly do not currently know computers or own computers at a rate as high as other groups does not mean that they cannot. Belief and teaching methods play a role in memory even among the elderly with regard to computer training. Learning the benefits increases their willingness, and receiving training reveals aptitude regardless of age. Let's take a look at the current opportunities for those who are technologically disadvantaged. If someone does not have a computer for economic reasons or homelessness, they can still go to a library to use a computer. However, they may not know how to use it. If they do, they might not use it safely or effectively. The AARP lists local training opportunities, but these opportunities are sparse and not always evaluated. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act provides grants to help continuing education and reduces other barriers to career advancement. However, not everyone will go to college even if they have assistance. An adaptive library coalition can spread awareness of the issues and the plan to solve the issues. People who the ALC can reach include caregivers for the elderly, but the elderly themselves may be caregivers for those who are older than them. For example, someone who is in their early 50s could be caring for a parent who is in their 70s or older. If universities emphasize issues regarding the elderly, that will encourage more research. There is a lack of research on the topics of how computers and the internet disadvantage the elderly, though we can clearly see that it occurs. We do not fully understand what the best teaching methods are, and often international studies are the only sources of information. U.S. law and funding acts need modernization to address the issue effectively. We know that we should provide equal opportunity, and that libraries must also do that, but how to do that is not clear. There are some issues related to changes in technology and an increase in the elderly population that need to be addressed. Even under current U.S. law, which does not cover the issue well, voluntarily changing practices can help with the issue. For example, organizations who are not government organizations can provide ADA compliance voluntarily. Society has made the PC a barrier to entry for opportunities, so we must also make concessions for those most vulnerable. About half of the homeless population is elderly, and both of those groups are vulnerable groups. An ethical issue regarding government is how to address the issue. If this is a market issue, how much should the government intervene? Laws don't have to change the political polarity in order to become modernized. The ethic of government solving social problems is popular, but there is no need to shift the politics of the library laws in order to modernize them. The ALC policies match current laws in polarity. No one is forced to go to a library, and a private library is not forced to follow government standards if they do not receive funding from the government. Now, when we look at laws regarding safety, the government may need to become more involved. However, modernizing enforcement does not necessarily affect political polarity. Current laws already attempt to protect people from malicious use of email and phones and websites. However, email authentication is enforced by Gmail but not all others. Also, caller authentication for landlines may require an overhaul, such as using SIP phones or adapters. So though laws are in place, the enforcement can become better. With regard to accessibility laws, there are two main issues: equal opportunity and the physical implementation of computer standards. Technology reduces work for library staff regarding making books accessible, but the saved effort hasn't been redirected to computer training, though computer literacy is an issue that has overshadowed English literacy. With regard to the physical implementation, specifics related to the Americans with Disabilities Act may need to be updated to account for high-resolution screens. Instructions posted near the computer may be necessary if using other means other than changing resolution. We can see that the built-in interface scaling feature of Windows causes problems with applications. This example shows that you cannot push the close button on this dialog box, nor read all of it, no matter where you would move it, especially the bottom. You can see that lowering the resolution can increase the size of objects without obscuring buttons or causing other malfunctions related to obscuring parts of the interface. However, zoom tools can also accomplish a similar effect as lowering the resolution, because either way the pixels can become bigger, allowing people with vision problems to read the screen better. Both individuals and the Adaptive Library Coalition, ALC, can begin to make changes and promote the issue and the solutions, and even implement the solutions themselves. The reasons to scale funding for inflation and to retain employee levels at libraries must be clear to decision makers and voters. Laws may follow. Governments, organizations, and people assisting the elderly can make them and others aware of current opportunities and of the ALC. ALC resources, community activities, and suggestions can lead to voluntary changes and changes to laws. Voluntary improvements can start now, even without government funds. However, some funding may be required for travel and starting local chapters of ALC. The ALC can provide seminars and training for employees and citizens at libraries. Current library employees can initiate teaching programs. The teachers can be employed within the realm of the budget, or as consultants within the budget, or as volunteers. Current library employees can take over ALC-led training opportunities and accessibility policies.